at the Washington Convention Center. We are now joined by author Chasten Buttigieg. His book, I Have Something to Tell You, came out originally in 2020, but the for young adults version came out this year. Chasten Buttigieg, you tell a story at the beginning of this book about going from Starbucks to Washington, D.C. in 8 years.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, the stickiness of Starbucks really helps if you adjust to Washington, D.C. What happened is I guess I fell in love with a mayor and did not see my life going from teaching middle school to, running for president. But it certainly has changed life in many ways. I really miss teaching, but I'm also very happy to be on tour with this book. It sort of makes me feel like I'm in a larger classroom, having these really important conversations, especially at a time when books like this are facing bans and political attacks across the country.
How did you change the language in this version for young adults from the original?
Yeah, I should have given it a new title. I completely just axed that book when I started adapting it. I wanted to infuse a lot of new stories. It wasn't just about modifying the language. It was really about telling a new story, that arc of childhood to today. And it was really written for 8th grade me. The book I wish I would have had in middle school that told me it was okay to be gay, it was okay to be myself, but we didn't talk about that growing up in rural conservative northern Michigan. So I wanted to include more stories about that process of coming out and learning to love myself and embrace my differences, and then how those differences and experiences helped me in political life and in public life.
Had you come out by the time you met Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg?
Yes. Yeah, I came out to my parents the summer I turned 18.
And what was that like for you in Traverse City, Michigan?
It was tough. I wrote my mom a letter and apologized. I thought I had to apologize for being gay, and I ran away from home. And I couch surfed with friends. I was trying to put myself through classes at the community college and just figure it out. It was a pretty rough time. But luckily, my parents called me home, and they didn't know anything about raising a gay kid. They put all their prejudice and opinions aside, or prejudice of other people, I should say. I think there was fear of rejection from folks in a religious community or in our community at large. But they put all of that aside because they wanted to keep their kid safe. They wanted to keep their kid alive.
Had you heard anti-gay sentiments growing up in your family, in your school, in your community?
That was pretty much the norm growing up. My family's a very loving family, very insular family growing up. And I think one of the common reactions and conversations that came after coming out, once I came back home and things started getting better, was that nobody cared. But I was so convinced that they would. I was so convinced I would lose my family, lose my friends, simply because we did not talk about the existence of LGBTQ people. And the only things I was hearing in my 4-H group, at church, in the hallways at school, was that this was something that should be mocked. It's something that could get you killed. I remember Matthew Shepard very vividly when I was growing up and was convinced that that would happen to me too. Growing up in northern Michigan, if somebody finds out you're gay, it could get you killed.
So when you did come out, did life get better?
Life got better because other people helped me make it better. Having your parents in your corner is life-changing. I don't know what would have happened to younger me had I not have the love of my family. And not everybody gets to go home. Not everybody's mom picks up the phone and says, "Come back. We'll figure it out." Having friends in my corner who made me feel loved and accepted, who were there when it was difficult. That's how it got better for me. But it took a very long time for me also to love myself. This problem of internalized homophobia as you grow up for 20-some years being told that you're disgusting, that you're unworthy of love, that you're not worthy of civil rights or protections, that you will never know community. You really start to hate yourself, too. You start to believe some of the awful things that people are saying to you. So that took me a while, even after coming out, to really lean into my differences and allow me to love me.
Now, Chasten Buttigieg, there are two journeys that you went on in your book, I Have Something to Tell You. Germany and Wisconsin.
Yeah. different places. Germany was an escape. I got a government-sponsored exchange program scholarship my senior year of high school. That was to run away. I studied German for 4 years. I was well qualified for the program on paper, but I wanted to get out of northern Michigan as fast as I could. And then running away to the Northwoods of Wisconsin, maybe not the big gay mecca that you look for in college, but I went to a smaller art school, UW-Eau Claire, studied theater, found my community, and was able to finish college surrounded by people that made me feel like it was okay to be me.
You can see the numbers up on the screen if you have any comments you would like to make, any questions you have for author Chasten Buttigieg. The book is I Have Something to Tell You. It is for young adults. A different version came out in 2020. An adult version came out in 2020. Was Pete Buttigieg out when you met him?
Yeah. Yep.
And was he comfortable being in a relationship at that point? Because he's talked about this on the trail.
Yeah, I think that's his story to tell. I think everyone's coming out story is theirs to tell. So I can't speak for him about how he was feeling. I certainly know when we met each other, if head over heels is allowed to be said, I think that hyperbole can be applied here. That was an incredible romance from the beginning. It was like a fairy tale. The way our first date, went from a drink to dinner to him having tickets to the ball game. There were fireworks at the ball game that night. And I think we were both at that point in our lives, at least I felt, very much ready to focus on what it felt like to be truly loved and seen by somebody else. That I had very different experiences being out. I talk about in the first book my experience with rejection, with things like sexual assault, very bad relationships that I was ready to move on from, and that also prevented me from truly allowing myself to be loved by somebody else. And I don't think I ever really understood what love meant until I met Pete. To really feel like somebody was there for all of your faults and for all of your charms, truly there to support you and love you.
If I remember correctly, in 2020, the Buttigieg ticket won the Iowa caucuses.
You do remember correctly.
What was that Iowa caucus experience like for a spouse?
I mean, I think at the time, the historical aspect of it didn't really sink in because everything was happening so fast. Life was like a tornado. When you're running for president, there's no time to stop and think and to catch your breath and to realize what is happening around you. And you meet thousands of people a day and you're taking countless selfies and having these really emotional conversations on the rope line. Folks who drove 4 hours from a rural town to see you because they were afraid that if someone from their town saw you, they might be rejected or lose their job, because in some pockets of this country it is still not safe to be LGBTQ. Those types of conversations, when they're being peppered in on a rope line, when someone is so moved just to see that you exist, it took a long time to really allow myself to realize that you too were part of something historical, and it still means a great deal to me. I know that we sit in this position of privilege, that people are watching and they're paying attention to what you have to say, and I want to make sure that I use this moment to keep pulling other people up, to thinking about how I use this platform, because I do know that it matters what you say, it matters what you do when you go out there. So the campaign itself was great. I know it was a historical moment. It meant so much to us and to other people, and now we can continue that opportunity to change the way we talk about LGBTQ rights in this country, and also just to show two gay dads trying their best to raise twin toddlers, which is not easy.
Do you think Traverse City, Michigan has changed since you were a teenager there?
Dramatically. When I was growing up, they put these rainbow bumper stickers on all the city vehicles. It said, "We are Traverse City," and it wasn't for the LGBTQ community, it was just sort of like everyone belongs, right? But the anti-LGBTQ backlash to those stickers was so loud that people were ripping them off of city vehicles. And I remember seeing that in the news thinking, oh, well, that's how they think about gay people here. And now we have Up North Pride, which is a fantastic organization in northern Michigan. I did a Pride march during the campaign, walking down Front Street, Traverse City, Michigan, holding my parents' hands, with countless people filling the streets. And it wasn't a parade. There was no corporate sponsorships. It was just people saying that northern Michigan is moving on. This is an inclusive space. And it means a lot now that our family is there. When you see, a rainbow flag in a storefront, you don't have to question whether or not it's okay to bring your family inside or hold your husband's hand on the sidewalk. That you know that this city is an inclusive one, and this city wants to be on the right side of history.
If 8th graders, and you say you wrote this for the 8th grade you.
Yeah.
If 8th graders read this book, what do you want them to take away?
Well, the thing I wish younger me would have known that I want, middle schoolers now to know is the opinions of the people around you don't matter. I was so wrapped up in the opinions of my peers. I thought whatever they think of me is what truly matters. And I was terrified of them. I hid my truest self from them. I tried to blend in with everybody else. And now I go to Target and someone says they went to high school with me and I have no idea who they are. I just wish I would have been able to focus on me and celebrate my differences and lean into everything that made me and not worry so much about what other people thought.
Do you think you shortchanged other people as well, going to Target, meeting somebody, and you have no idea who they are, but maybe they wanted to be your friend?
I've had incredible conversations with classmates who have apologized. I don't remember them specifically doing everything, but I had a really heartwarming conversation with someone I went to high school with who said, I don't know if I ever did anything or said anything, but it really breaks my heart to think I could have been a part of the problem. I know we were all growing up in a different generation, but having those conversations now means a lot to me. I certainly know that there are some people. Yeah, I think we all remember our high school bullies. I don't know if they've changed or not, but again, I got to grow up and be this person, and now I get to think about my kids and my family and not about what the high school bully was saying, right? So what I want middle schoolers to know is that it is okay to be different. And this book specifically is not just for middle schoolers, but for their parents, for their teachers, people who love them, to have that opportunity to walk in somebody else's shoes and maybe understand just a little bit more what it's like to be a young LGBTQ person in this country, looking up to the adults in the room, wondering if it is truly safe to be themselves, if they will truly belong here, and if this country is headed in the right direction.
Monique, New Jersey, you're on with author Chasten Buttigieg. What's your comment?
Oh, yeah, hi. It's nice to hear about your family being so inclusive and the love that you were given. My question for you is, although you're not transgender, you are into the community, I'd like to know, how do you feel about it's just become to the point where it's so popular that I'm concerned that younger people aren't considering the possible health consequences of surgery and particularly the hormones, because those you need to be on for the rest of your life. And I don't really hear this in the media so much talking about that. And it is concerning to me from a health perspective. That's my question.
Thank you, Monique. We got your point. Chasten Buttigieg, anything there you'd like to address?
You're right, Monique. I'm not transgender, and so I have to be very specific with my words and think about what it is like to be a transgender person. I certainly know what it's like to feel like I'm on the outside of inclusion, confused about whether or not people would love me or whether my family would accept me, whether it's safe to be myself. But I gotta say, growing up gay, I wished so desperately when I was young that I wasn't gay. Because everybody around me made me feel like it was wrong. And I was told for 18, 19 years that I was wrong, something about me was broken. And there is nothing like that rejection from your peers, from your family, from your community. And I think the thing that we have to do right now especially cis folks, people with platforms, is listen to the transgender community. I'm more interested to hear what they have to say about their existence, about their healthcare. I should be learning from them. And I believe those types of conversations and decisions should be left to a transgender person or their parents. That those types of conversations can happen in consultation with your doctor, but I shouldn't be weighing in on that. I want every kid to feel welcome and safe and supported. And I know that every major reputable medical association in this country supports gender-affirming care. So I'm going to follow the experts in that field and listen to them because I value those trans lives. I believe that their lives matter, and I want to keep them alive. I think we should all, as adults and as a country, want to keep trans people alive. And I know that listening to those experts is where we should all be spending our energy, not on social media. I know we go on social media and we can fall down rabbit holes. I'm just going to listen to the experts on this issue.
Eric, Long Island, good afternoon.
Yeah, hi, Chasten. Want to commend you for writing the book that you did to enlighten people. That's the first thing. And
thank you.
The second, you're welcome. And the second thing, though, is how do you square the peg with Christianity? If I think Peter is a Christian, and you know the whole thing about the Bible saying what it is. Now, we all sinners, and every sin is equal to another sin, but I'm trying to struggle with that for you and your spouse.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks. I'm not sure I got the specific question there.
It was square the hole with Christianity and being gay, I think, is where Eric was trying to go.
Oh, sure. I mean, I was married in the church. My husband is a bit more religious than I am. My experience with religion is different than his. I think everyone is on their own religious journey. But what I will say is the people that I met in our church, the church we were married in, were extremely inclusive people. The way they interpreted their scripture, the way they interpret their religion is to be of service of other people, to be loving of other people. I thought about that a lot growing up. My family was pretty religious, and I wondered why would anyone believe that God would make a lesser human being? Why would God make me this way, to be hated by other people, to be discriminated by other people? I just don't think, at least the religion that I believe in, that is what I'm supposed to do. Go through life choosing who gets rights, who doesn't get rights, who God loves and who God doesn't love. And I certainly appreciate belonging to a faith. On my own faith journey, listening to people talk about how they interpret Scripture to mean it is inclusive of more people. And at the end of the day, you know, my family is just like every other family. We're waking up tired, trying to get our kids fed, get them in the stroller, get them out the door, get them to daycare. You know, we're doing everything that every other family is doing. And I think behind some of those questions is a little bit of fear and unknown about who LGBTQ people are. And I got to be honest, sometimes we don't want to just talk about being gay all day. I realize I wrote the book about that. But, you know, I just want to go through life, raising my kids, doing a good job, be a good dad, be a good teacher. And I think we should all want that for everyone, just to feel like we belong. So go ahead. I know you got another one. I didn't want to cut you off.
No, I got to cut you off, and I apologize.
No worries.
The author is Chasten Buttigieg. The book is called I Have Something to Tell You, and this is the young adults version. We appreciate you being on
thanks
Book
for
TV.
having me. Thanks.
Book TV's live coverage of the National Book Festival now continues.